Good evening and welcome to Tuesday night here on DJNTV. The one and only Jay Brannan, the one and only Brian Red. The guys are here tonight to lavish you with educational content and knowledge like you've never had before.
Yep.
You never asked for in the first place.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yep.
Never. It's kind of like, they'll be rubbing that lotion in places you didn't want to rub. That's what tonight's show is going to be like.
Ooh. Top. Over the top. And we were trying to be cool about it. You just went over the top.
Well, we tried.
We tried. Rubs the lotion or it gets the hose, huh? There we go.
So guys, tonight what I wanted to talk about a little bit to start the show, and then we're going to drift off into a variety of topics. I know that's going to be unusual for a lot of you who've watched our show before, but we might go on some tangents after our topic.
That's weird.
I know that'll be so unusual. But what I want to talk about is as we're putting together, we're going to be putting together some unique events next year because things are just going to be a little bit different.
Yeah.
I want to talk about in the past when you've had those times where you've had someone come up with a dream or a vision and it's been something a little unusual. How far should we go, or have you gone to help them create these memories of something unusual that is beyond the showing up and doing with the wedding formalities and the wedding basics? So that's what I really want to kind of dig into a little bit, because a lot of the weddings that we do, and maybe this is just me being a bad DJ, is there's 95% of the wedding is very, very similar to a past wedding that I have done. There's variation from week to week, but really I could probably find another wedding that was very similar to Bob and Susie's wedding that I did on this date. But there's been a few that were just something completely out of the norm. And that's really what I wanted to kind of dig into a little bit tonight on some of those stories. So
I think Jay does a really good job with this, by the way. And just
thank you.
Jay is always trying to help his clients realize that thing, like that magic thing. Making the memories is kind of a catchphrase of his. We're making memories. And he does very well with it.
I appreciate that. And I was thinking about this topic when I saw John post it. And I've got a few that come to mind from the past. And I'll even go so far as to say today, I met with a bride in February, right before a photo booth expo. Mm-hmm. We met for about 2 hours, went over all the details of her special day. Her wedding was in May, got postponed to this coming Saturday. We went back and forth at the end of last week with, are you good? Is everything okay? Yes, we're still a go. Let's talk music. Here's my music request account. And I could sense in the emails, there was that trepidation of, I'm not really sure what I'm doing. So I said, I'll tell you what, I have a wedding this Friday, but I'll go over what you choose over the weekend. And if need be, we can talk. Or we can email. What would you prefer? And the email just came back with talk. And I spent about 2.5 hours this morning with her, and we're probably 80% done with her music requests. And I kept reassuring her that I wanted her to have the dream wedding, the great wedding. And if there was anything I've done in the past that I could help change or, navigate this one, I would do that. I do take a lot of pride in that. And I think, yes, a lot of our weddings are very similar. And we did this talk in the chill room last night. Brian was there. My wedding past Friday, I was playing the Backstreet Boys, Backstreet's Back, because that's what the groom requested. Mm-hmm. It was very late. I only had time for maybe one more song before their requested slow song. And I went around the room, and the insanely great caliber of DJs in the chill room, pretty much everyone was on the same page. Just like, John, I'll do it to you cold with no prep. You're at a wedding, you play Backstreet's Back, everybody's in the dance floor, you have time for one more fast song. What would you play?
I'd probably hit Spice Girls Wannabe.
We're all on the same page.
Yep, we're all right there. I ended up doing In Sync. But in my head, I had Spice Girls, In Sync, Blink 182. But this is what I mean by the greatness of this, and all of this as an entity of DJs, that we're all thinking of the client. We're not thinking, man, I'd love to hear some Aerosmith. I could go with a little Slayer, maybe a little Lola's theme. We're thinking of the client.
Right.
And when you say, I've had so many weddings that were similar to other ones, that's true. But we're constantly prepared to make great moments.
I'll share one.
Yeah, please do. Because the one I've got is kind of the one that should cap it, because it's insane when I tell it. So
All right.
save it.
I mean, you're going to slam dunk this. So I'll just give my little lame ass one so you can get your big finish.
Okay.
So I've told this story before, but I think it's a good one. And it was something that was very unexpected. I was doing a gay wedding. And when I say gay wedding, I call it that because
Being happy.
Ramon and Carlos identified it as a gay wedding. And so they asked me to attend rehearsal. It was right down the road, so it wasn't a big deal to do. I wasn't doing anything else. Jay, do you remember the domes when you came into town? Those big glass domes? That's where the wedding was. It was at the domes.
Oh, nice.
So kind of an unusual venue. It's not your typical, brick and mortar building. You've probably seen the domes too, John, right?
Mm-hmm.
Coming in and out of Milwaukee.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah, the big glass domes. So it's a weird place to get married. They have one of the domes is called the Show Dome. And that's kind of Wisconsin foliage and things all year round. And when you go in there, it's not like a big bunch of big tall trees or a desert or a rainforest. It's ground stuff. And there's a little creek and a bridge and things, but it's a round, obviously, interior. And what they typically do is down kind of in the middle of things, there's a trellis. And that's where people stand to have their, do their vows. And there's like a little path and a bridge that goes over a creek that you can take to get to this trellis. So I got to know these guys really well. They came to the house, we hung out, became friends essentially over the course of, maybe a year or so. And, big focus on music, big focus on a lot of things. But I attended the rehearsal because I was going to be playing music for it. And they had their clergy there. And they didn't have bridesmaids and groomsmen. They had what they called groomsmaids, which was kind of interesting. I thought it was a neat terminology for it.
Totally.
So the way that the officiant had things arranged was the officiant and Carlos were at the trellis. Then the groomsmaids came in. And then Ramon wanted to be given away by his mother. That was kind of a thing of his.
Nice.
So they had Ramon was walking, and his sister and his mother. So Ramon was walking down the aisle to the trellis. They did their vows. They came back up. And, like I said, I'd known these guys for about a year. And afterward, they came to me and they said, Brian, what do you think? I said, do you want an honest opinion? Because I hated it. Oh, my God, what didn't you like? I said, this doesn't represent you. Because we've known each other for a while. I know who you are. I know what you want to project to your family here. That this is not weird. This isn't a role play thing. This is two guys, who are in love and are getting married. That's all that's happening here. The way you guys have this set up, it's like, for some reason, Carlos is the groom and Ramon is the bride. That's not who you are. So what would you do? I said, this is what I think would work well, because I know it's important that your mother and your sister give you away. So how about this? Come down the aisle like you were going to, stay up there with the officiant, have the groomsmaids come in just like you were going to do before. When Ramon comes in with his mother and his sister, starts walking towards the bridge, Carlos, you start walking towards the bridge. You meet at the top of the bridge. Give your hugs, hold hands, and finish that walk back down to the trellis together.
Great.
So this way you guys are equal. You're going down that aisle together. I think it'll be really cool. I like that. And they said something to the officiant. It's like, okay, whatever. Oh, crap. Somebody's screwing with my program,
Yep.
So the next day, they did it. And I'll tell you what, catering was crying when that happened. That was an emotional tearjerk moment. And I wasn't trying to be over dramatic or anything, but I was really trying to do something that was more representative of who these gentlemen were than what they had put together, which I thought was wasn't very well thought out. And then this on the fly that I threw with them, I feel like really made a difference. And it's those kind of things when you know your client and you know who they are, and you want them to have a party, whether it be music or a wedding ceremony or even a meal representative of who they are, be their friend and be on the lookout and make sure that, things are falling into place as they should, and representing them as well as possible. So that's my example. Now, Jay, go ahead and give us your slam dunk. Give us someone that's better than that.
Just real quick. And I've probably, as you know, because of, I was resident DJ in a gay hotel. So I've done a lot of gay pride. I think at last count, something like 52. At the time, they were either same-sex commitments or weddings, but I've done a lot of those events. And that's a great example, Brian, of events where our getting to know our clients, but being outside eyes makes such a difference, because they don't know the routine. Rarely have my clients come to me. I get the occasional, I've already been married once, I know what to do.
Yeah.
But that's rare. And I think there's the Hollywood wedding perception. It's like when you explain to people about microphones during the ceremony, and they're like, well, I watched a video of a wedding, I didn't see any of this. It's like, you didn't see the guy operating the boom either, or the 10 video cameras. Like, you got to be realistic. I think simplicity is oftentimes the best way to go. And to be honest, you did exactly what you should. You tapped into the emotion of the day, who they were, and realized that equality was the way to go. I was fortunate to have somebody who was a wedding coordinator back in 2000 when I did my first same-sex commitment. No, 99. I said, what am I going to do for introductions? Because they're not legally married. They're not Mr. and Mr. You got any thoughts for me? And he goes, yes, newlyweds. I'm like, great. And then I came up with, since one of you isn't above the other, and I don't want your families to think that, and if you ever have a gay wedding and you want to do this, please do. Not only do I introduce them as the newlyweds, but let's say, just for namesake, it's Brian and John. I would say, ladies and gentlemen, the newlyweds, Brian and John. The next time I mention you, I would say John and Brian. And I keep it on a list. I do that with
men and women.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I do.
Just instinctively, I do that.
Okay.
In fact, I make it an effort to mention her name first, because otherwise it's his name, her name. So I bounce that back and forth even with women.
I mean, that one I think, and I like that, but I think in that one, there's that expectation, because it's groom and bride maybe, or bride and groom. But when you have two women or two men, I've always found they've been very happy to know that I'm trying not to make them this. I had one couple who's awesome, and they're Joe and James, and they're going to be married. They got married on 9/10/11. So their anniversary is coming up. They've been married 9 years, and they were adamant. We're known as Joe and James, not James and Joe. So, and I stuck with that.
Who they are.
Who they were, and that's who they are. And just like you did. I've had a lot of different weddings. I've had to speak about, I had a couple get married and their son had passed away 3 months earlier, and they asked me to say something. I've had weddings where they wanted a blessing and they asked me to do it.
I've had that too.
And
it's so weird.
Off the cuff. It is. But it speaks volumes about the trust they have in us. And there are times that, if you're a firefighter, you train on a lot of different things. But on average, you may go to a medical call at a small car accident, but you will get a burning building. So you've got to be up on everything that you have talent for. And And I think we're no different in respects to, this wedding this coming week will be very similar to the last wedding and the last wedding and the last wedding. But when a curveball is thrown to you, I think you really need to be able to hit it out of the park by taking what you've learned.
Well, do your best. Your best to hit it as well as you can. Play that particular inning. I don't know. I'm not a sports guy. The best you can. How's that sound?
Yeah, we'll go with that.
I don't know. Play the particular. What do you call that? The batter up the thing. I don't know.
Inning. Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Inning. Sure.
Yeah.
Best you can. John, I'm curious. Do you have a story?
Yeah. The one in particular I was kind of thinking about is I had a couple that wanted to do a very unique first dance for our area. they were huge fans of the song "Thinking Out Loud" when it first came out, and that specific dance that they did in the video. So they wanted to create that type of a feel for their first dance. They wanted to have it where they both came in from two different doors, and they came in with spotlights on, and then the room lights would go to something similar to what they had in a video, with some moving, a little bit of kind of spotlight action going on. So to put this all together, to choreograph and make it sure that we had the music, so when they got together that it was at the right point. And so there was the music added into that, but they just programming the lights to be able to do this in this really a gymnasium sized room took a lot more than certainly a typical wedding. But just I ended up having to go buy pieces to get lighting up a little bit higher to shoot over people's heads because they were walking literally right through all their guests, because there was 300-400 people in attendance.
Right.
But just the ability to take that idea, and they're like, we really want to do this. How can we do it? And it's like, well, let's start taking this apart. You want to do that entrance, like, the kind of walking in. Yeah, that's going to be that. We'd really like to figure a way to do that, because how about we have the groom come in through the back door? Not exactly the greatest thing, but for this particular moment, from him coming one side and you coming the other, and really at the same time hitting the middle of the dance floor, that would really be able to set that moment. And then to have someone at the back door, because it has a emergency lock on it, who can get him in.
Sure, you get in.
Yeah, so there's just a lot of logistics.
I got this great idea. Oh, wait a minute. Why is he coming through the door?
Where is he? Where is he? He should be walking by now.
Magical, John. Magical.
But yeah, that was the idea, is that just to really take her desire. She basically said, "This is what I want to do for my first dance," blah, and somehow I want us to both walk in, but I don't want us to walk in together. And her in her mind, she was thinking, well, he would walk in first, then she would walk in, and then they'd get together and do this. And she was
right.
And it's like, well, we can do this. We can do this.
Well, you help them realize the vision, and that's kind of what it's all about.
Yeah,
and
very much.
Well, I will add this before I yield to the gentleman from Temecula. when we were at the mobile DJ meetup, I talked about a few things. One thing that I talked about was, and I'll try to make a long story short here, how I feel like we have a lot in common with stand-up comedians. And I talked about some of the parallels that we have. Some people don't see that, but I can't unsee it after I saw it, and I keep finding new parallels.
Mm-hmm.
There was a conversation that Louis C.K. had with Jerry Seinfeld early in his career. And Louis C.K. asked, "What do you do when you get this like big laugh? What do you do? I mean, because they're laughing, do you interrupt the laugh to continue on the joke? What do you do?" And Jerry said, no. You freeze in the moment. So what do you mean? He's like, well, if you make a gesture like this, you freeze until they're done laughing or clapping or whatever. And then that might even cause more laughing because of that pause.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it's dying down, then you continue. Well, how do I use this? First dance, perfect example. When you introduce them to come out and dance, cool, there's a round of applause. There's also that moment when the dance is over. Now, when I was a younger DJ, as soon as the song was over, I would get on the microphone and say, "All right, everybody, give a big round of applause. First dance is a married couple." I don't do that anymore because I don't want to always have to be creating this moment. Sometimes I just need to let a moment happen. And this is a good example. So they have their dance, the song's dying down. Someone claps, they hug. The applause builds and builds and builds. Let that happen. Mm-hmm. Don't interject. Don't try to make noise for no reason at all. Just let that moment happen. Those kind of things, I think, are just so essential for, you don't have to always be, like intricate in making it happen. And I see photographers do this a lot, and I can't stand it. I've got a first dance. I've got the lighting just right. It's very romantic. And the videographer comes out and just shines all this candle power right in their face.
Yeah.
You know, you make the effort to make things look nice, and there's freaking flash tripods all over the place with wires everywhere. Another show, I understand that, but what I'm saying is that it kind of is like the ambience killer, you know.
Right.
I don't want to be the ambience killer as a DJ by doing something that's going to distract from what's really, you know, the coolest photographers and the coolest videographers are the ones you don't even know are there.
Yep.
They're just capturing the moment. They're waiting for things to happen and they're capturing it. They're not trying to create the moment and create the perfect lighting and none of that. They're just, oh, this is cool. Pow, pow, pow. You don't even know they're there. You don't know where they put their stuff. Those are my favorite photographers. That's kind of where I'd like to be as a DJ when it comes to those moments. Let it happen. Just let it happen. Don't try to create it. Just let it happen.
I think the phrase that, and I believe Randy Bartlett was the first one who used that, but letting the moment breathe. You know, James Cerrone has also talked about that, is that you have that and you need to let that moment breathe and exhale and then continue on.
I think it's the Pink Floyd effect. It's not always about the notes you play, but sometimes it's a lot more about the notes you don't play.
Yeah.
And David Gilmour described, you know, I took these 4 bars and just let it breathe.
The silence.
It's like I didn't play a note there because the other note was still resonating, or I wanted to give people a moment to enjoy. And then, you know, and we might be 3 examples of people that take this too seriously, even though I don't think that's possible when you look at the investment. I mean, if I came to you and said, hey, Brian, I need you to overlook a project I've got on next Saturday. Oh, okay, what's going on? I have this project. They're investing about $60,000. That would put you on edge from the word go. You're like, holy geez, I got a $60,000 project. But when I say it's a wedding, you're either ready for it or you're not. I think that's where I see a lot of mistakes made, where people don't let things breathe and they don't let moments just happen. This will sound amazing. And I don't think anyone in the audience, we're at 8,700 in the chat room. I don't think anyone in the audience has been to a wedding of mine. But believe it or not, even my wife questions this. I don't speak very much at my weddings. I do.
You get it all out here on Tuesday night.
Exactly. That's even when you guys aren't here, I just go into empty Zoom rooms and interview myself. I mean, I'm in the chill room 2, 3 in the afternoon practicing what I'm going to run the room with that night. So
I have a question for the room. Speaking of that, we are self-aware that we are trying to be the client's wingman, if you will, when it comes to this kind of stuff and create the coolest moments. Do you think that there are times, John or Jay, that we actually overplan things to the point where there's no room for something cool to just happen?
I think it depends on the client.
Yeah, I definitely have
I've had clients where I had one years ago where the bride's father is a very famous DJ from Southern California. I'm talking like Hall of Fame, National Broadcasting Hall of Fame, LA, like insanely well-known DJ. And I met him at the wedding and he came up to me and I said, oh, hey, it's such an honor to meet you. Are you going to be speaking tonight? And I was holding the mic and he literally just took the mic. And I went over to the bride and groom and I said something about, your dad's going to do the introduction and this and that. And she grabbed my shirt and said, do me a favor. I don't know what I'm supposed to do and I'm really uncomfortable. Please just guide me. And I spent the next 5 hours walking up to their table going, you guys need to come with me. Or in 10 minutes, we're going to do the toast. Do whatever you'd like. But in 10 minutes, I'll come find you. That was her comfort zone.
Sure.
I don't think we're detracting from special moments.
No, that's directing. And that's
right.
that's not what I'm talking about. Directing is good.
I think we give them all the options of what could possibly happen. And then when special moments just on their own merit happen, I honestly take a lot of the sense of, thank goodness we planned on having this, and this already in place. If you just showed up at a wedding with no idea what was going on and didn't try to help guide it, when you say we're their wingman, I think we're their bodyguard. I think more of we're there to take the pitfalls that are going to happen at a wedding and try to guide them away from them so they can create special moments.
That's the wingman.
Because we have to get in front of it.
Jay, I'm going to do you a favor, and I'm not going to let you.
This is the empathy-sympathy argument.
Go home. Yeah, it's exactly what this is.
I know exactly where you're going.
We'll just leave it at that because we're not going to do that here. I wouldn't do that to you or anyone else. But yeah,
most of my clients have never been married. I think it's my job and obligation to give them all the possible options and opportunities.
Yeah.
And to express who they are at the wedding. But I think a lot of that comes down to being prepared before, or at least letting them know that I'm prepared. So when we get there, they're not. I used to tell them, don't wear your watch, turn off your phone. They're like, why? I'm like, because once you get married, I don't want you to know what time it is. And I don't want you to have an expectation of what's next.
What I was talking about was, I think John knew what I was getting at. He has some input on this too. But what I was talking about is when our timelines are rigid and when we are going back to what I was talking about with the photographers and the videographers, they're trying too hard to create the moment and they're not just letting the moment happen organically. So that's the only reason I brought it up. I thought, is there a point where sometimes us as DJs are trying to kind of force this stuff in and really trying to plan it, like over planning something? I don't know. I feel like I've done it. And because I've done it, I tend to go the other way now and try to just not plan too much. Like leave some breathing room for things to happen.
Right. But I think I guess I'm confused then because I'm looking at it as I give all my clients an opportunity to have various events at the wedding. I mean, that's an actual planner from a wedding. So I go in and say to them, these are the things that traditionally happen. Would you like to or not? And then if there's something you want to add to it, what is it?
Sure.
That way we can create some sense of flow. I say to them all the time, once dinner's over, if you've got these 5 activities, first dance, father, daughter, mother, son, cake, garter. Okay, great. Here's different options. Would you like to every half hour? Would you like to all at once? Would you like to later? What I'm asking are things like, when does your photographer leave? Oh, they leave at 8.
Right.
Oh, great. We're here till 10.
Right.
So I'd like to be the one to say, we're going to be done with everything by 8 if those photos are important.
Right. And you give the photographer something to take pictures of.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's something else that I try to do. If it's, we're going to leave at 9 and it's a quarter after 8. I said, okay. I said, don't worry. I'll give you plenty of stuff to take pictures of. And I knock him over the head with a 2x4 and get him on the floor. And it's a big party and the photographer's going nuts. Oh, this is cool. And they get all the good pictures. It's a perfect time because you've got the full capacity crowd there. People haven't left yet.
Right.
And they're ready to go. So yeah, I mean, yeah, this absolutely. And I guess what I was talking about is just, trying to force something to happen instead of just kind of letting it happen organically. And then
I think those moments make themselves. My first opinion is
the best. I feel like it's the best way for them to happen.
Right. I think you need something of an outline. All my weddings, I make a time.
Oh,
now,
yeah.
I'm coming from yachts back in the 90s, early 2000s, where if you're in a boat and you run out of time, you run out of boat. There's no, hey, we'll just give you that. No, they're not giving you 5 seconds. Like if somebody's late and you have to back a yacht off a dock, it might be an hour before you can get back there. And you say, but Jay, the boat's here and 20 feet away is the dock. No, because they have schedules where other boats are coming in. So I learned very early with my wedding, I have to have it in my head. I don't want to miss stuff. When I go on Facebook or YouTube or whatever and I see, man, great wedding. I just wish I hadn't forgotten about the father-daughter dance. You didn't write it down? Like I have a timeline, but I also, to your point, tell my clients, you know what? This is just suggestion. This is just so we don't miss these things.
I like what you said about the time thing too. It's like, just turn off your phone, take off your watch.
Exactly, yeah.
Don't worry about this. I don't want you to worry about what time it is. I got you. And that's how I like to do things too.
Yeah.
John, you had thoughts. You did have thoughts.
Yeah. As far as the overscheduling, that's something that I have worked with couples who were very planning to the minute on activities. And that's just that type of a personality that likes that planning. And you do get to that point where there's opportunity to do something that you see that okay, I could go and we're doing this dance set, and we could go, and the crowd responded really well. We could take it this direction and create something even cooler or more exciting. We could bring the energy level up, but because we've overscheduled or over slotted everything, that it can be limiting.
I think so. Well, okay, you guys didn't see it, but John and Jay saw it. I sat down 10 seconds before we went live. Like I showed up, sat down right before we went live because I rigorously planned my evening.
No, you didn't.
I knew what I had to get done. I knew how much time I had to for each individual thing I had to do.
I was so full of it.
And, no, I'm serious. I had to go out to my mom's house because the mirror on her truck it's a power mirror, but it was broken. And all she could see was the ground, so she couldn't back her truck out. She was stuck at home. So I had to go fix her mirror. But Stevie wanted to come too, so I brought Stevie with me. And then my long story short, my brother called. I had to spend some time with that. And then we're driving home, and Stevie says, "Hey, let's go to the Euro Palace on the way home and get some food. You have time for that?" I'm like, "Not really, but we'll make it work." So we do that, and then I have to go to her house, and then she has to bring pitas. And then I came home, and as soon as I walked in the door, Blanca said, "Did you go to the gas station and get what I asked you to get?" I'm like, "No, but you know what? I have 8 minutes. I think I could probably do this in 8 minutes before the broadcast starts."
Yeah.
So I ran to the gas station. I got back. I came in here. I sat down. Here we are. That's real. Did I have fun tonight? No. Did I leave any breathing room for anything to happen? No. But we made it.
Did it work? Yes.
It worked.
That's
I mean, I was here literally at 6:30. I'm just saying, John.
I laughed because of the 2-hour time difference.
Yeah.
You meant.
No, I was here 6:30 your time. That's the worst part.
Yeah.
Oh,
I was going to say,
bad, yeah.
So if you want to consider changing the name, John, by all means, it could be like Jay Brannan and Brian. I'm just saying.
yeah,
Some of us take it really seriously.
yeah, the dedication.
Now, this may bother you, Brian, and it may bother John,
Okay.
and it might bother some of the people in the room. But I find that the bride and groom who want a loose wedding understand this, and the bride and groom who want a regimented wedding understand this. And I'm going to say this the only way I can. This is simply a suggestion. So I just pulled this out of a case. This is from an actual wedding, and you can see the times.
Oh yeah, you've got it pretty much down there.
Regimented. And as
You
I
got
go
great
through-
vision because there's no way I could ever read that.
Okay.
It's awesome that you can do that.
So the point is this, and this is one of my secrets. I tell every client, please understand this is an outline to make sure that all the events happen. But I know, as you two know, when you go to a venue, they have an agenda. Labor, we want to do the cake at 8 so we can cut labor. Well, the bride and groom schedule has it at 9. Well, we think 8's better. Well, I don't work for you. I work for the bride and groom. So I tell them, when this timeline makes it to a venue, I tell every client, tell them this is the timeline you've worked out. Don't mention me. Because I want the venue to think, wow, this bride and groom has a big expectation on being timely. They're regimented. We really need to make sure we hit these numbers for the client. And I've never had a client come back and say anything but a positive review on this process. And again, it goes back to where I started with weddings as far as how regimented they can be. Once we're there, the wedding unfolds.
Mm-hmm.
As you know, when you hit play on the first prelude song till the last song, it's going to go. Whether the bride and groom get involved or not, that time is going away. Let's make sure we don't miss anything. That's
Well, don't get me wrong. I timeline events, and I do tell my couples that are my clients. So the only times I'm really concerned with is what time you get married and what time you eat. And I'd like to leave at this time unless you want overtime. But everything else here is kind of fluid. But there's structure, So I'm not saying structureless weddings. This is what I'm talking about. Think about that road trip you took, going back and forth to Las Vegas. And think about the song you always play when you go back and forth from Las Vegas.
Yep. Dire
Okay.
Straits.
You've got a thing you do, right?
Oh, yeah.
Personally, I like to just turn the radio on and see what plays. because that creates its own soundtrack.
Exactly.
And to me, that's surprising and fun and unexpected. And I like that. I like that. So I'm trying to assume I guess I assume other people like it too. I mean, some people don't like surprises, but most people like surprises, especially when they're pleasant surprises.
Yeah.
So when I'm talking about a rigid planning of something, I'm talking about every song is planned out in this order.
No.
And I'm not talking about don't timeline things. You should do that. You should structure an event. I'm not talking about structureless events. I'm talking about over structuring events.
Oh no. Yeah.
You don't allow any breathing room for things to happen.
No, I think you need to. When I talked to my bride tonight, I'm like, we're talking about dinner. And she goes, any suggestions? I said, give me a decade you like.
Yeah.
We're big fans of the 90s. I said, okay, then I'll pick it. She goes, what do you mean? I said, I'll pick the best songs I can find from the 90s that will make all of your guests and you go, oh my God, I forgot about this song. Oh my God, I love this song. Because I don't want you to have an expectation of what I'm going to play. Therefore, you're surprised and I'm creating a moment. Now, granted, I won't show up 10 seconds before dinner with this idea, but.
Right. I do it with requests when they'll say, oh, we want to give you 120 requests. I'm like, well, you can do that.
You can do that. But, you can hire me for 2 days.
But what I don't need you to do is tell me that you like Nirvana and Pearl Jam and Soundgarden and everything they played on MTV's Buzzbin.
Yeah.
Just let me know you like Nirvana. I can fill in the blanks on that. I get it.
Sure.
If you like LMFAO, you probably like Flo Rida. You probably like Pitbull. I don't need to know you like all these things. Let me throw an element of surprise in there for you. So,
Brian, I went like probably 10, 12 years with give me 5 cocktail, 5 dinner, 5 slow, 5 fast, 5 have to, and I'll fill in the blanks.
Yeah.
If you give me 5 Frank Sinatra for cocktail, I know what to play. If you give me 5 old Billie Holiday for dinner, I know where to go.
Right.
If you give me 5 have to and 5 fast, dance songs, I'm good. So I think sometimes we need to, as DJs, pull out of our clients what they really want. I'll give you 2 quick stories so as not to monopolize things.
Yeah, because John's turn next, by the way.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you want to go, John?
No, you do your stories and then let John
story.
Okay. First one was I met a couple at their apartment probably 15 years ago. Sat down, we're at the table in the kitchen, and I said, okay, I'm writing down notes. What's your first dance? And they said, Ribbon in the Sky. And I'm like, Stevie Wonder? They're like, yeah. And I looked at them, and if you'd been there, you would have done this too. I'm like, oh. And the bride goes, why? I said, you don't look like Ribbon in the Sky people. And she goes, what do you mean? I said, I just don't get that off you. Is that really your first dance, or is that what you picked? And she goes, and they looked at each other. And she goes, well, I said, do you have a better song? She goes, the first time we kissed was at a concert for this group called like Ferris Wheel. And the song was called I Love, or, I'm making that part up because I don't remember what it was. Mm-hmm. And I go, let me hear it. And she got the CD, put it on. And within about 10 seconds, right down the cheek, tear came down the bride, tear comes down the groom. I'm like, this is your first dance. And they're like, well, what about Ribbon in the Sky? I go, I don't really care about Ribbon in the Sky. The moments that are the memories are things like this. And just as expected, when we got to the wedding, they got on the dance floor. I said, now for the bride and groom's first dance as husband and wife. And I hit play. And within about 30 seconds, they just were on each other like this. And you could see they were crying.
Yeah, you're looking out for them.
Everybody just was like, so
this is being their wingman on that one.
Well, they called me Kevin Costner. I'm just saying. So take that any way you want. So by far the moment I'm most proud of, going back 17, 18 years.
Oh, I love this story. If it's the one I think.
I had a wedding, and I meet up with the bride's mother and father, and the bride's dad is blind.
There's a new one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you may not even know this one. And I get done talking with them because they're interviewing the DJ, and the bride shows up with the fiance and everything's cool. And afterwards, I say to the parents, if there's anything I can do that day, let me know. And I say it kind of in, just as a courtesy. And the bride's dad says, can you make me walk down the aisle? I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, I have a dog. I'd love to walk down the aisle without the dog. I said, okay, we'll do it. I'll measure the exact walk, and then we'll have a part of a song queued up for you to stop. I measured it. It was 39 feet. I told the bride, because she didn't know, I'm going to play this song for you to walk out to the head of the aisle and meet your dad. And then I'll switch. I met with the dad and said, I'm going to play this song. When it gets to this point, you stop. Went to his house. We did the walkthrough on the time, and I played the song. And we probably did it 12 times. We get to the wedding. The dad is at the top of the aisle. No dog. Bride walks out. Bride doesn't see the dog. Takes his arm, and they walk. Song hits. He stops. They kill the volume. Who gives this girl away? Mother and father. Kiss, handshake. He knows to step 2 feet and sit down.
It's a beautiful story.
Nice.
And it's the God's honest truth.
I got $20. He just made that shit up on the fly.
No, look.
I got $20. He pulled a Brannan special on us.
No, I swear to God, as good as I am, I'm not that good.
I got more.
No, it's a God's honest truth. It really is. And it was
Pastor Jay.
When he said to me, can you get me to walk down the aisle? And I just was like, and he's like, I have a dog. I don't want to use the dog. And I said, yeah, what we could do is measure it, because it was at a military base, and it was in a room where it was pews. They were already there. So measuring the distance wasn't an issue. The thing that came to me was his hearing was obviously great. So I said to him, if I come up with a song, let's measure the song against it. So when I went to their house, unbeknownst to the bride, I just kept replaying the song and stopping it. And we determined that he knew the song by heart by then, because and the wife said he was practicing. Oh, the bride was like bawling.
I believe you, Jay.
Yeah.
It's a great story.
That's a good story.
That's in my entire career. That's still the moment where I was just like, whoosh. Yeah. Like, man, it's probably never going to get better than this.
You know, John, we've probably stayed on topic on this show more than we have on most of our other shows.
Time, yep. I think.
And this was a show where you thought we would go we'd make a left turn or turn right.
Yeah. And not
we
not only stayed, but Jay wrapped it up, staying on topic with a really, really good story.
Yeah.
I mean, that's surprising.
And you know what? I always say this, and I know it sounds cliched, but I'm very fortunate. I have always had great clients, and there's always been a trust. And I think that's why I still enjoy going out. I'll drive an hour and meet you at Starbucks for an hour or two and drive home, and you haven't hired me. And people will say, oh, it's a waste of time. Do a Zoom, do this, do that. There's a relationship between my clients and I. There's something that affects their lives moving forward. I just celebrated my 20th anniversary back in June, and I can name my DJ. I can look back on the day, and it was amazing. And I think the impact we have as DJs is something that's very special. I've always said this, and I firmly believe it. Photographers capture great moments that DJs create. Because I could walk in front of the bride and groom at any given moment, and the photographer might miss it. I could even trip over that beat up old carry-on luggage bag that the photographer shoved next to my good table with all my stuff hidden in my scrim and everything. I could trip over that during the first dance. I could knock over one of the stupid, ugly umbrella telephone pole things that suddenly was erected near my speaker that I didn't bring with me, you know? But I firmly believe we are as essential to those events as anyone there. You take a Ritz-Carlton wedding, you could replace the food with a pizza. You could get people there to take photos. They wouldn't be professional. But regardless, a great DJ is going to make that event what it should be, which is a great event.
Mr. John Young, your thoughts?
Jay did well. I think he gave us
Pretty
our crescendo for the show.
He gave us the director's cut closer on that one, which
think
you totally didn't need to do. It was fine.
No, he did well.
It was good.
I got a lot of them, but that one's
yeah.
I think
thought of me yesterday, and I'll tell you what, I'll even go so far in this public medium. There's 87,000 people now in the chat room, so
Okay.
I will go so far in front of everyone, and this is going to be on YouTube for all
forever.
I mean,
Forever.
Yeah.
the billions and billions and billions. I'll be honest with you. I was looking at the topic yesterday, thinking about it and thinking about that experience. And I'll be dead honest. I had a tear come right down the cheek.
Mm-hmm.
It meant so much to him. And it meant so much to me to be a part of that. And that's kind of where it defined forever what it is I do. I don't just play music. I facilitate making amazing memories.
No, we got Howie Darkstar in here who said that he can make any bride and groom's dream come true, and the groom said, "Okay, can you make monkeys flat on my butt?" Somehow Howie pulled it off.
I bet they were DMX monkeys.
Actually, he said we had a good laugh, but yeah, you can probably do it with gobos.
I was going to say there'd be gobos in this.
Some sort of gobo monkey.
That'd be a cool band name, the Gobo Monkeys.
I'm over here making a poor blind man walk, and this guy's got a gobo monkey.
He's got a gobo monkey flying out of his butt.
Multiple Gobo Monkeys.
I didn't think about that part.
No, that's pretty good. So I think, Brian, I think the reason why Jay, had his big story at the end is that he's politicking to try to get a little more talking time in our show, because he doesn't get that much,
He gets robbed every week.
Hey, when are you going to say something?
Every week.
Said no one ever.
Yeah, Jay's just, again, we're hoping someday he'll come out of his shell. We're hoping.
I've been working on him for a while.
Yeah.
He told you the chill room thing, right? I called Brian. I'm like, so we're in an actual room in Vegas? He's like, yeah. I'm like, okay. And I thought we were in the room that you were setting up with Howie. And I go, okay, so we'll talk.
What's chill about you lecturing people for 8 hours a day?
No, I
don't
thought that's what
understand
I seriously thought that's why I was being brought in. I'm like, that's fine. No problems with that.
I'll live for 8 hours every day.
No, I can do that.
Jay thought he was going to be on a stage lecturing for 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
And somehow that was chill.
Sit
I don't
down
know.
and listen to me now.
That's fine.
I have the microphone. I have the power.
Yeah. I'm like, we can do that, Brian. What's the big deal? It's like, we're not talking for 8 hours. I'm like, are you sure?
Yeah, just sit here.
Just sit
Say hi to
down.
people who come in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was
Like,
social.
oh, okay.
Chill.
Well, gang, we're going to wrap things up for tonight. Thank you guys for being with us. The chill room, the digital virtual chill room here is open, of course, as it is every night. DJNTV.com/chill. Bounce out there and you guys can hang out and share some other stories that you might have of creating those moments. And Jay, give us a little shout out what you're doing with all the red.
I am doing this because it is Monday, September 1st, and I was told by the great people, Bill.
Tuesday, September 1st.
Oh, Tuesday, September 1st. I'm always so close.
You're close, yeah.
That's why I'm here.
I was let know by Mr. Bill over at Sound City Events and Chuck and Jimmy over at 617 Weddings and Events that it is Red Alert. We make events, and it is a day where if you put some red out there, I saw Brian Dowdle did something on it. Wear red, put a red light on, do something just to support all of us in the live entertainment industry who've been decimated by the whole COVID effects, because we're not doing stuff, sadly. We're not doing events. We're not doing lighting. We're not doing sound. We're not doing any of that. So if you can, maybe just put a red thing on your Facebook page or put the word red someplace. Just anything to show that you're part of it.
I am a red thing. That should count.
That's why I expected you not to change, because you are
He is red.
red.
Right there.
Tomorrow you'll be Bryness blue, but
It'll be
for
good.
today,
Yeah.
He's Bryness red.
Bryness red.
Still.
And of course, lighting supplied by American DJ. And what are you going to do?
Right on.
Yeah, we make events. Do a hashtag, put it on that Twitter thing and your Insta stories and that Facebookity thing with the
on the interwebs.
People
Tick
doing
and
that
the
thing.
talk and the
Yeah. It'd be great. Snapping and chatting.
the John Young line. That'd be great.
It'd be great.
I was lucky to get that.
You know what, Brian? I just realized something. You know who John Young is? John Young is the Lorne Michaels of the Disc Jockey News now.
I bet.
Really, Jay? That would sound amazing.
Dr. Evil's a Lauren Michaels impersonation, so that makes it even more funny.
I don't always hit the notes. By the way,
Right.
shout out to Nick Hahn. I'm Nick James, damn it.
On that note, before it deteriorates farther, we'll wrap things up. Again, chill room's open. You guys jump out there and have a great night. Thank you much for watching. We'll catch you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.